Somewhere right now, a man is being screamed at, and he isn't reacting. His face doesn't move. His breathing doesn't change. His eyes don't blink faster. And that silence, that stillness, it's doing something to the person screaming. It's breaking them. Because the human nervous system was built for one thing: mirroring. You yell, I flinch. You cry, I soften. They call it the Joker method. Not because it's chaos for the sake of chaos. Not because it's a costume, a mask, a character in a movie. Because it's a psychological architecture. A blueprint for becoming someone the world cannot read, cannot predict, cannot control. And by the time this ends, you're going to understand exactly how to build it inside yourself. So sit still. Because what you're about to hear is going to feel like someone opened your skull and rearranged the wiring. Let's start with the truth nobody wants to say out loud. You are being controlled right now. Not by a government, not by a corporation, by your own face. Every time someone, a space between what happens to them and how they respond. Most people have zero gap. Stimulus hits, reaction fires, instant, automatic, owned. The ones who master this method installed a delay, a half-second black box between the insult and the response. And in that half-second, they choose. Not react, choose. That's the entire secret hiding behind the myth. It's not about being cold. It's not about having no emotions. It's about owning the switch. Let that sink in for a second, because right now you don't own your switch. Somebody else does. Your boss owns it. Your ex owns it. That comment section owns it. You've been renting out your nervous system to strangers for free. And the method, the real one, is about taking the leash back. So how do you actually build this? Not talk about it. Build it. Step 1. You have to kill the need to explain yourself. This is where 95% of people fail before they even begin. The moment someone accuses you of something, and you feel that burning urge to defend, to justify, to prove them wrong immediately, that urge is the leash. And somebody is holding the other end of it. Every explanation is a confession that their opinion controls your identity. The ones who master this, they let accusations hang in the air like smoke. Uncomfortable. Unanswered. And the silence does something the accuser never expected. It makes them doubt themselves. Because confident people don't over-explain. And the less you explain, the more dangerous you become in their eyes. Try this once. Just once. Let someone say something wrong about you, and say nothing. Watch what happens to their face. Watch the panic creep in. Watch them start talking faster, filling the space you refuse to fill. That's power changing hands in real time. Step 2. You have to separate your face from your mind. This is the technical part. The part almost nobody trains. Your face runs on autopilot unless you override it manually. So you train it, not by forcing a blank stare. That looks fake, robotic, easy to spot. You train it by controlling the input before it reaches the surface. When something hits you, an insult, a betrayal, a shock, the first thing that moves is your breath. It shortens, it rises into your chest, catch it there. Before it reaches your face, slow the exhale. Just the exhale. Nothing else. And your expression stays exactly where it was a second ago. People who do this consistently start to feel almost supernatural to everyone around them. Like nothing touches them. Like they're playing a different game on a different board. That's not a gift. That's repetition. That's reps done in real conflict, over and over, until the gap becomes instinct. Step 3. You detach your identity from other people's opinions of you. This one is brutal because it requires you to accept something most people spend their whole life avoiding. You will be misunderstood. Constantly. By people who matter to you. And you have to be okay watching that happen without fixing it. Here's why this matters so much. The moment your sense of self depends on being understood correctly by everyone around you. You've given every single person you meet a controller with your name on it. They press disrespect. You feel small. They press praise. You feel big. You're not a person anymore. You're a puppet with really good posture. The ones who master this method operate from a different center. Their value isn't assigned externally. It's generated internally, and it doesn't fluctuate based on who's clapping and who's not. That's why they seem untouchable. Not because they don't care about anything. Because they stopped outsourcing their worth to a jury that keeps changing its verdict. Step 4. You learn to use chaos instead of resisting it. This is where it stops being defense and starts being offense. Most people, when the room turns hostile, when the plan collapses, when everything goes sideways, they tense up. They fight the chaos. They try to force control back onto a situation that's already spiraling. That's exhausting. And it's also visible. Everyone in the room can see you white-knuckling reality. The alternative is terrifying the first time you try it. You stop fighting the chaos, and you start moving with it. You let the unpredictability of the moment become your camouflage. While everyone else is scrambling to restore order, you're the only person in the room who looks like they expected this all along. And that look, that eerie calm inside a collapsing situation, that's what makes people start to fear you a little. Because it suggests you know something they don't. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just training. But they can't tell the difference. And that uncertainty is leverage. Now let's talk about the part nobody warns you about, the cost. Because this method isn't free. Nothing this powerful ever is. When you stop leaking emotion, some people around you will accuse you of being fake. Cold, robotic, scary, even. They're used to reading you like an open book, and suddenly the pages stop turning. That unsettles people who relied on your reactions to feel in control of the relationship. Some of them will leave. Let them. Because the people who only valued you for how easily they could move you were never actually on your side. They were operating you. The people who stay, the ones who respect the stillness instead of fearing it. Those are the only relationships worth building from here forward. Now here's the part that separates the amateurs from the real operators. Emotional control isn't the absence of emotion. That's a common misconception, and it's dangerous because it leads people toward genuine numbness, which is not power, it's damage. The real method is full emotional awareness, inappropriate. At 2 aim, on someone who didn't deserve it, in a way that cost you more than the original trigger ever could. Mastery processes the emotion on your schedule, in your space, on your terms, and only shows the world the version of you that you've chosen to show. This is why people who build this method well seem to operate one full move ahead of everyone else. Because they are. While others are busy reacting to the last thing that happened, the ones running this method are already 3 moves into a game the room doesn't even know is being played. Let's go deeper. Because there's a psychological trap inside all of this that will destroy you if you don't see it coming. The trap of performing stillness instead of building it. Some people hear all of this, and they start faking the mask immediately. No breathing work, no internal processing, just a blank face slapped over unresolved rage. That's not the method. That's a pressure cooker with a smile painted on it, and it always cracks. Usually at the worst possible moment, in front of the worst possible person, in a way that undoes years of built reputation in about 4 seconds. Real mastery requires you to actually do the internal work. The breathing, the identity detachment, the private processing, before the mask means anything at all. Skip that step, and you're not dangerous. You're just delayed. And delayed explosions are still explosions. Now let's talk about how this shows up in the real world, because theory means nothing without application. Picture a negotiation. The other side throws an insulting offer on the table, designed specifically to provoke an emotional reaction, because emotional people negotiate worse, every single time. The untrained person feels the insult land, and their voice tightens, and they either overreact with anger or overcorrect with desperation. Either way, they just told the other side exactly where their limit is. The trained person absorbs the insult like it never happened. Independence from their approval entirely. And once that clicks into place, something strange happens. People start treating you differently, without being able to explain exactly why. Rooms get quieter when you walk in. Not because you're loud, but because something about your presence doesn't compute the way everyone else's does. You're not reacting the way the room expects, and unpredictability, in a species built on pattern recognition, reads as power. You become harder to manipulate, because manipulation requires a predictable lever to pull, and you stopped installing levers. You become harder to provoke because provocation requires a reaction they can see, and you moved all your reactions somewhere they can't reach. You become in the truest sense of the word, ungovernable. Not by breaking rules, not by causing chaos for attention, but by simply refusing to hand your internal state to anyone who hasn't earned the privilege of holding it. That's the method. That's what it was always about. Not becoming someone scary, becoming someone sovereign. And here's the last thing you need to understand before this ends. Nobody is coming to install this for you. No video, no book, no mentor can hand you the gap between stimulus and response. They can only show you where it lives. You have to build it. Rep by rep, insult by insult, provocation by provocation. Every single time you feel that surge and you choose the pause instead of the explosion, you're laying another brick. It won't feel powerful at first. It'll feel unnatural, uncomfortable, like holding your breath underwater a few seconds longer than you're used to. But stay in that discomfort long enough, and one day, without announcing it to anyone, you'll notice something has changed. Someone will scream in your direction, and you won't flinch. Someone will try to humiliate you in front of people you respect, and your face won't give them a single thing to work with. Someone will try every lever they've ever used on you before, and find out, in real time, that the levers were removed. And in that exact moment, you'll understand what this was always building toward. Not a costume, not a character, not a mask you put on for a performance, a rebuilt operating system. One where you, and only you, hold the switch. That's the method. That's the whole method. Now go build it.